Hi there, this is Professor Eckhouse, and I'm going to be talking about section 3.5, the application problems. I'm just going to give you lots of examples for this lecture and no real lecture. But what I would like you to do is try every single problem before I show it to you, because I think you'll get a lot more out of it that way. All right, so the first thing I want to look at is number 1. When negative 48 is divided by a number, the result is 6. So the number is going to be x. So we've got negative 48, and I'm going to show divided by as the fraction bar, divided by x, because it's a lot easier to see that we're going to multiply both sides by something. So it's divided by a number x, and the result is 6. Now I've left a little bit of room because I want to show you that we're going to, in order to solve for this, one of the main things you need to do is have x on top. So x is on the bottom here, so we need it to be on top. And it's okay if it goes to the other side and divides out over here. So we're going to divide out the two x's here. So x over x is what we get right there. Because remember, when we multiply by x, we're really multiplying by x over 1. So those x's divide out. We end up with 6x over on the other side. So we end up with negative 48 equals 6x. And then we're going to divide both sides by 6. They divide out here, and we get x equals negative 6. So x equals, negative 8. X equals negative 8. So negative 48 divided by 6 is where I got that. Okay, so this is the answer to that one. Okay, the next one is 14 equals 10 less than 6 times a number. So if you want to highlight things or underline things, equals, remember, is something we want to look for in the problem. So make sure you understand that that's equals right there. So 14 equals 10 less than. So we're going to actually subtract 10 from something. 10 less than 6 times a number just means 6x. So we've got 6x minus 10. So I want the x by itself. So the first thing we need to do is, I kind of think of it as like peeling an onion. You want to take away the things that are farthest away and then come closer in. And as you get closer, you will most likely multiply or divide as you get closer. So let's look at what we would do first. So what I would do is I would add 10 to both sides. So plus 10 to both sides. And on the right side, the minus 10 plus 10 subtracts out. So it subtracts out, and on the left side we get 14 plus 10, which is 24. So 24 equals 6x. All right, so 24 equals 6x, and now we need to get x by itself. So what would we do to get x by itself? Well, it's multiplied times 6, so we need to divide by 6. So these 6's here are going to divide out to make 1. 6 divided by 6 is 1. And so now we have 24 divided by 6, which is 4, and 4 equals x. So on these kind of problems, it's a good idea when you're turning in your work to put a big box around your answer. All right, so the next problem is a number decreased by 5 gives twice the number. Okay, so we need to figure out how to set this up and what is going to be what. So gives is our equal sign. So gives is going to be the equals. So a number decreased by 5. So we've got some number decreased by 5 equals twice the number. So twice the number is 2 times x. So now we just need to solve for this. I've got the higher number of x's over on the right side, so I'm actually going to subtract x so I don't end up with a negative x. When you get a negative x, it's kind of messy. So we're going to subtract that out, and we end up with, on the left, we have negative 5 equals 2x minus, remember this is a 1x, 2x minus 1x is just 1x, so we end up with x, so x equals negative 5. So it does not matter which side the x is on. It can be on the left or the right, it doesn't matter as long as you have it by itself. So the next one, when the sum of 7 and a number is divided by 3, the result is 6. So why don't you pause it here and try this one. Right, the first thing you should probably do is look for the equal sign. The result is going to be the equal sign. So on the left, we've got the sum of 7 and a number. So sum of 7 and a number means that we've got 7 and some number x. The sum of those two things is going to be divided by 3. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that over 3. because it's easier to do the algebra with it, and that equals 6. So the first thing you're going to do here is multiply both sides by 3 over 1. So times 3 over 1. And when you multiply a whole number by 3 over 1, you're just multiplying by 3. But I want to show you as 3 over 1 so that you can see when we multiply these two fractions here that then the 3's are just going to divide out. We end up with 3 divided by 3, which is just 1. All right, so we end up with 7 plus x equals 6 times 3, or 3 over 1 is the same thing. 6 times 3 is 18. Now I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. And the 7's are going to subtract out to be 0 right here, and we get x by itself. So we've got x equals 18 minus 7 is 11. So x equals 11. So one thing we should be doing on all of these, I'm not doing it for the sake of time, but I'm going to do it real quick right now, is to double check and see if we're right. So let's take this 11 right here, and we're going to put it up into the equation. So we've got 7 plus, and instead of x, we're going to replace it with 11. So we get 7 plus 11 over 3, and that is going to equal 18 over 3, which equals 6. So this is true, and it checks. It does equal 6. So continuing on, we'll go to number 5. So take a look at number 5 and see if you can work on that first. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to try this one. This one's a little harder. 4 times the quantity, remember quantity means parentheses, 5 plus a number, yields 16 more than twice the number. So take this just a little bit at a time. Yields, remember, means equals. So that's our equal sign right there. 4 times the quantity. So we've got 4 times the quantity. So I use a parenthesis. 5 plus a number yields 16 more, 16 plus, twice the number. So twice a number looks like that. So now we just need to work this out. So I'm going to distribute this 4 times the 5 and then the 4 times the x. So we get 4 times 5, and I'll write it out so you can see what I'm doing, plus 4 times x equals 16 plus 2x. All right, so now we've got 20 plus 4x equals 16 plus 2x. All right, my largest number of x's is over on the left, so I'm going to get rid of the x's on the right and bring them over to the left. So I'm going to say minus 2x, and that will keep me from getting a negative x. So the minus 2x here is going to make the 2x's subtract out to be 0, and I get 20 plus 2x. So we just subtract the 4x minus the 2x equals 16. Give yourself a little bit more space here. But we're not going to worry about things becoming negative as long as the x is positive. So the first thing I'm going to do here is subtract 20 from both sides. And yes, we are going to get a negative over here, and that's okay. So the 20s are going to subtract out, and we end up with 2x equals 16 minus 20 is negative 4. So we've got one more thing to do. We're going to say divided by 2 to get the x by itself. The 2's are going to divide out to make 1. And we end up with just 1x equals negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. So x equals negative 2. Okay, so before we go on, the next thing we need to do is check our answer. So remember, we need to take the x equals 2 and negative 2 and put it in for x. So we've got 4 times 5 plus x equals 16 plus 2x. Every time I see an x, I'm going to use a little parenthesis, and I'm going to put in the negative 2. So I'm even going to make it a different color for us so we can really see it. 4 plus, now x is going to be replaced with negative 2 equals 16 plus 2 times negative 2. Okay, so I've replaced every time I see an x with a negative 2 in parentheses, and I really recommend using those parentheses. So we've got 4, and remember to do what's inside the parentheses first. 5 plus negative 2 is the same as 5 minus 2, so that's 4 times 3 equals 16 plus 2 times negative 2 is going to be negative 4. So 4 times 3 is 12. 16 plus negative 4 is like 16 minus 4, that's 12. So that is true, so this checks. Okay, now we have some word problems. The first one is about weight loss. After losing 30 pounds, a person now weighs 135 pounds. Find the weight of the person before losing weight. So the first thing we need to do is say what variable we have. So I'm going to use a W. W is going to equal the weight before losing weight, because that's what it says it's supposed to be. Okay, so after losing 30 pounds, so W minus 30 equals, now weighs, that's going to be our equals, 135. So to solve this, you're just going to add 30 to both sides, and we get W equals 165. So double check that and make sure it makes sense to you, that it makes sense to the problem. I can't tell you how many times I see a person do a problem and then they have an answer that makes absolutely no sense, like a negative number or something for the weight of a person, and that doesn't make any sense. So make sure it makes sense, and then also make sure you put in the unit. Okay, so the next one is about rectangle dimensions. The length of the rectangle is 7 inches longer than the width, and the perimeter is 62. So it's going to equal 62, and perimeter, remember, equals, it's like a fence around the outside. So if the width is W and the length is 7 inches longer than the width, and that means it's going to be W plus 7, or 7 plus W, either way you want to do it. So now we can come up with an equation for this, because remember, 2 times the width plus 2 times the length equals the perimeter. Okay, so we get 2 times the length plus 2 times the width equals, the perimeter is given as 62 inches. All right, so the length is W plus 7. We can only use one variable to be able to solve when we have one equation. So we're going to put W in for L. We get W plus 7 in for L plus 2W equals 62. And now we have an equation with just one variable in it, which is what we're looking for. So next we need to use the distributive property, and we get 2W plus 2 times 7 is 14 plus 2W equals 62. So now we're going to combine like terms. So one thing you can do is you can go underline it or do something, box around it or circle it or something, and combine those two to be 4W plus 14 equals 62. Now we're going to subtract 14 from both sides. It's going to subtract out on the left side. I'm going to give myself a little more room here. And so now we're going to subtract 62 minus 14. So we get 4W equals 62 minus 14. So that is going to give us 48. So when we take 62 minus 14, we get 48. Now we have 4W equals 48. We need the W alone. The only way to get rid of that 4 is to divide it out. So now it divides out. Remember, when 4 divided by 4 just equals 1. So now we end up with W equals 48 divided by 4, which is 12. So the width is 12. So that means that this is 12. So don't stop there, because the question is find the measures of the length and the width. The length and the width. So we need to do both. So then the length is going to be 12 plus 7, which is 19. So we've got 19 as the length and 12 as the width. All right, the next one is the triangle. A triangle has 2 sides of the same length and one side that is 5 inches longer than either of the shorter sides. If the perimeter of the triangle is 26, find the measure of the 3 sides. So I'm going to make this and this side my 2 equal sides because they look pretty equal. And so those are both the sides with the same length, and the other side is 5 inches longer. So that means that this one is x plus 5. So perimeter of a triangle is just all 3 sides added together. So the perimeter is 26 inches. So perimeter is x plus x, or you could say 2x, plus x plus 5. So that's that base. And that's going to equal 26 inches. So we've got 3 x's here. X plus x is 3x plus 5 is 26. So now I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And I get 3x equals, and don't forget the 5 here turns to 0. So 3x equals 26 minus 5 is 21. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And the 3's divide out. to be 1. When we subtract out, we want it to be 0. When we divide out, we want it to be 1. So we get x equals 21 divided by 3 is 7. Okay, so hopefully you're stopping along the way and trying these because we've just got one more problem, well, 2 more problems left to go. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to look at this. A mother is 15 years older than twice her daughter's age, and then we have another equation. If the difference of their ages is 32, how old is each person? We're going to have 2 different equations here. But first we have to say what all our variables are. So we've got D is going to be the daughter's age, and M, I'm going to make that the mother's age. All right, so first we have to come up with one simple equation, and that is that the mother is 15 years older than twice her daughter's age. So the mother is, that's the equal sign, 15 years older, that's 15 plus, twice her daughter's age, 2 times D. Then the other equation is the difference of their ages is 32. Well, the mother is older, so I'm going to say mother minus daughter is 32. Now we can't have 2 different variables in an equation, and both of these have 2 different variables, but if you think about it, this M right here could be replaced with this, which is what the M equals. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in right here for the M. So I'm going to say 15 plus 2D, that's the part that I just stuck in. I'm going to keep it in a red block for just right now. And that's minus this D right here equals 32. Okay, so now I've got 15 plus 2D minus, remember this is just 1D, so 2D minus 1D makes 1D, or just D. And the 15 is still here. So 15 plus D equals 32. Watch your signs. The minus goes away because you've got 2D minus 1D equals 1D. All right, so 15 plus D equals 32. Now all we have left to do is subtract the 15 from both sides so that it subtracts out right here. And we get D equals 15 minus 32 is 17. So the daughter is 17. How old is the mother? So the mother, you're going to have to take the 17 and put it in up above for the mother. So now we're going to have to figure out that the mother is going to be 15 plus 2 times the daughter's age. Okay, so that's going to be 15 plus 2 times 17. And that is 15 plus 34, which is 49. So the mother is 49 and the daughter is, mother is 49. It's a good place to answer it right here. And the daughter is 17. Okay, so this is our last problem. These are about high mileage cars, Toyota Prius and Honda Fit. So take a moment to read this. I've already set up our variables down below. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to try it. The first thing we're going to do is set up an equation that shows the difference in mileage between the two. So one of them is 14 miles per gallon more than the other, but we want them to be equal. So if we took the Fit and we added 14 miles per gallon to it, that would be the same mileage as the Prius. Okay, so that's how you want to think that one through. And then down below, if the two cars could travel a total of 86 miles on 1 gallon of gasoline each, then find the mileage. In other words, add them up to get 86 is all that's saying. So we're going to take F plus P, and that one equals 86. All right, so now we already have the P set up right here. So we've got P is equal to F plus 14. So we're going to put that in right here for the P. All right, so we've got F plus, and I'm going to have F plus 14 in for the P. So now, once again, we've got it down to just one variable, and now we can solve it. So that equals 86. Okay, so we've got two F's, so 2F plus 14 equals 86. And now we want to subtract 14 And those are going to subtract out. And we get 2 times the fit equals 86 minus 14, which is 72. So now we're going to divide by 2 on both sides so that the 2's divide out. And we get F equals 72 divided by 2, which is 36. So the fit is going to get 36 miles per gallon. And then the Prius is, I'm going to come over here, Prius is the fit plus 14. So that is 36 plus 14, which is 50 miles per gallon. All right, so does that make sense? So that's the Prius. That's 50 miles per gallon. And I think it really helps if you get confused to make yourself a little chart so you can kind of compare your answers at the very end. And it said here, the Prius is 14 miles per gallon more than the Fit. The Prius is 14 miles per gallon more than the Fit, and they do total 86. All right, that's it. Thanks.